everyone, this is Danielle, also known as Gently Smiling Jaws, and welcome to my Flosstube for October 2025. I'll start with the tea that I have for today. Let me take a sip here. This is, this is actually two things. These are a slow burn tea bag from Cliché Tea. I talked about this in my my tea festival video. This particular flavor, it's a spicy rooibos chai, and it's a flavor that I had tried in Cliché Teas does a lot of little, kind of boxed sets that have multiple flavors in them. Not all the flavors are for me, but this particular one I liked, so when I was at the tea festival, I picked up some of just that flavor. But there's also something else in here too. A friend gave me some, I think it's organic chamomile tea bags from Wild Rose Herbs, and chamomile isn't something that I have all the time, but the other day I decided I would toss one of those tea bags in with this, and I like it, so that's how I've been drinking this, is with both those tea bags together. Okay. The other thing, well, there's a couple things I want to add in before I get into cross-stitching. One is, like I always do, I'll put information on donating eSIMs to folks in Gaza down in the description. As of the time that I am recording this, the ceasefire seems to no longer be a ceasefire, and so obviously there is a long way to go for the situation to really truly change over there. So as always, information down below. The other thing, and I did not get it into my notes before filming, so I will add stuff on the screen and down in the description box. I was just watching Nitya's Flosstube. It was for her first Flosstube in a number of months, and she was talking about some fundraiser raffle that she was doing, and she was asking people to spread the word. So look for more information on that, like I said, on the screen and down in the description box, and I will link you to her stuff so that she can get some more donations for what she's trying to fundraise for. So cross-stitching and crafting in general this month, I feel like I worked on a number of things, but the amount that I did overall was really not very much, which is not where I'd hoped to be, but life was doing its things, and I just for various reasons, I couldn't get into doing the amount that I feel like I normally do. But even though I only worked a little bit on things, I did work on a number of things, so I have a few things to show. First off is, this is Mellow the Phoenix by Marumi Designs. I was talking about this in my last Flosstube that I was going to work on it for Earth, Wind, and Fire Day. And I got in about 500 stitches, so about 500 more stitches added. This is a 36 count linen from Banana Oil Fabrics, and the floss that I am using is Gilt by Cottage Garden Threads. So I made some progress on this. Even though I was working on it for Earth, Wind, and Fire Day, I actually did not stitch on it on that day. I fully intended to, and then things came up. It didn't happen, but I did get stitching in on it because I wanted to add some more progress to this. So here, we'll bring that closer. So I still have quite a ways to go on this, but it did feel good getting another chunk of work done. Oh no, I know I have for what me feels like quite a few whips. I know that other people have many more whips. I know some people will only stitch on one thing at a time, and everybody has their own amount that feels comfortable to them. And there are a lot of things I want to stitch, but also there's a lot of things I just want to have, completed and finished. And so I'm not sure if I'm going to be kind of focusing more. There's one in particular on here that I've been trying to make sort of a focus to get more done on and finished, because I want to move some of these older projects to completion and then be able to start on new things. I mean, it's not, I'm not feeling overwhelmed by my whips, but I feel like I have at this point kind of more than I am comfortable with to truly be seeing, you know, kind of progress on things, although, you know, some of that is just whatever I choose to pick up and how often I choose to do it. So I don't know. We will see. Let me set this. Set that in there. Next, I got a little more done on Dragons of Sumatra by Ink Circles. This was not much. It was only about 150 stitches, and it was adding again more to this upper border area that I've been working on. Here, let me. So obviously I've got a long ways to go on this, because I think this particular pattern has like somewhere between 29 and 30,000 stitches on it, and I'm just working on the border. And this is a fabric is a 40 count linen in Meadow or Meadows from Bestitch Me, and the floss is Thread Gatherer Silken Colors in Lizard Back. This is one of those pieces where, even though I'm not that far into it compared to a number of the things that I'm working on, I want to see progress on this. So even though I didn't make a lot of progress this month, I, you know, made sure to pick it up and get more stitches in. And I contemplated starting working on some of the inner things, but right now I feel like pushing forward more on the border is what I want to be doing. So that's what I'm working on this one for now. And to be honest, as far as cross stitching, this month was a bust, and I didn't work on anything else until the last couple of days, where I'm like, boy, I really haven't done much. It's time to, you know, pick up some projects and make some progress. So take another drink of tea. So this next one is sort of not the one that I had intended to work on next, but the one I was looking for, I found this one first, and this is one I want to get finished by the end of the year. So this is what I pulled out. This is Julbocken by Modern Folk Embroidery, and I got in again around 150 stitches on this one, but I am less than, let me adjust this, I am less than 2,000 stitches away from being done. So I knew that this was one I wanted to pull out and work on, even though I wasn't quite in the mood to work on holiday stitching, and even though, you know, we're not even to Halloween yet. But when I had last picked this up, I had just gotten to the bottom of the goat here. So the portion that I did was just this little bit. I'll bring that up there. Just that little bit down there. But yeah, this area at the bottom is all that I have left on this one. And the fabric, I don't remember off the top of my head. It's a 40 count, and I don't think I have the label on this. It's I can't remember, but I know that the floss is Silken Colors in the reds. And I've been happy with how this is turning out. And like I said, I just need to finish that and at the bottom. So again, not a whole lot of progress, but I think even picking it up and putting some stitches in kind of gets me ready and wanting to work on it more before the year is up, and hopefully be able to finish this out in 2025. And of course, you know, it's a modern folk embroidery pattern, and a modern folk embroidery pattern is always good. Here's some of the floss. It's the Silken Colors. Oh, is it not gonna? There we go. In the reds. All right. Okay. The next one is the one that I had been looking for when I found the Julbocken first. And this is, well, first I'll show you the flosses I'm using, and I am using two Roxy Floss colors. I think one of them maybe a limited one. The colors, the darker one here is Cheshire, and this one here is Hussy. And when I had placed an order with Evertote, I think it was sometime last year, I picked up a few skeins of these colors because I think they may have been on sale, and I liked the colors and I figured I would do something with them. I just wasn't sure what, but as I was ordering some other things, I just added them into my cart. And what I ended up pairing them with was this is another banana oil fabric. Let me see, this is an 18 count Ada from Banana Oil, and I am stitching Disagree by Rebel Stitcher Designs. So this is sort of a tone on tone here, and I'll bring it closer so you can see. I've got the text I am doing all in the darker color. The motifs around side I'm doing some in the darker, some in the lighter, just sort of as I see fit. So when I picked this up and did the 150 stitches or so, I added more to this line of text here. I'm figuring I'll go through, do the text, and then continue working on the design around there. But once again, I can just look at this fabric from Banana Oil. It's just beautiful. And then, you know, as usual with everything going on in the world, picking up Disagree again, which I had started. I started pretty quickly after I got the pattern earlier this year, and then it got set aside, and I thought I need to start working on it again. So I dug through my stuff. I couldn't find it because this hadn't gotten back into a project bag. The fabric had gotten folded up and kind of put with some other things, so I had to do a little digging with all my projects to locate it, but got it found and started working on it again. So that's where I am as far as cross stitching. I haven't gotten back to working on Stitch for Pride. There's plenty of other things that, you know, I would like to get back to, and I just haven't. Like I said, life has gotten in the way. My motivation to go and pick up cross stitching has been, you know, pretty low. Although obviously when I sit down and do it, I enjoy it. It's just sometimes sometimes the getting there has been difficult recently. But I have been working on some other things as well. So one moment while I take another sip. The non-cross stitch finish that I had just the other day was I finished the second of my Rook Socks by a pattern by Tanis Fiber Arts. And this yarn is a color called Cloud Busting from Junie and Sai that I picked up at Flock this year. It had, kind of speckled-ing and a little bit of variegated, coloration there. So I thought that I would try, this is the first time I've tried to do a textured type of, sock pattern. These, I've obviously just blocked them. So if you watched a previous video where they're very, kind of scrunched in and stretchy. So my first time doing something like that, I switched to using size 1 needles for this one. The previous socks I've done have all been using size 2 needles. When I was working on this, and I feel like sometimes I can knit tightly, so I got concerned, particularly as I was kind of trying them on as I was working on them, that although they were fitting, they seemed, pretty snug. So I was intentionally trying to knit, a little looser. And because of that, my second sock is a little bit bigger than the other, particularly noticeable in the length of the foot. It's like a little bit longer. But when I tried them on, it seemed like, they fit just fine. Whatever, kind of size difference there was didn't really feel too noticeable. And I finished these up on, just a couple days ago. I had, if the sock was the second sock, maybe I had gotten until maybe about here, somewhere around here or so was where I was at. And I decided that I wanted these done. I wanted to, although I was enjoying these, and I'm really happy with how they turned out, but for what I've been doing lately, I want to pick up knitting that's just mindless, where I don't have to be looking at my row counter and looking back to the pattern and making sure I'm doing the right thing, and making sure I've got the pattern correct. And so I sort of decided I wanted these done to have them finished so I could go back to some mindless knitting. So I sort of powered through the last bit of this sock, and then the next day I wore them for a little bit, and then I blocked them, and I just took them off the blockers before this video, and I am very happy with how they turned out. And although when I was knitting them, I was ready to be done, I think I may do more socks in this pattern. And in my previous video, I talked about how I had some issues with the pattern, and I figured that the problem was probably me, and I'm thinking that it was because the part where I thought the pattern instructions were sort of flipped for the basket weave on this next sock that I did, it didn't seem that way. So I think I was maybe confused, or I was looking at a different part, because the patterns are slightly different depending on what size of sock that you're knitting. So it could be the part that I was confused, I was looking at the instructions that weren't for my size of sock. That's a distinct possibility. Take another sip here. And always when I'm doing a video, I start to get a dry throat, so. And the other part of the pattern, the part of this pattern that was confusing for me was the heel, and I think it's because the pattern I did previously, the I'm So Basic Socks by Summer Lee design company, that's what I had in my head, doing the heel that way with magic loop, and that's how I, that's what I was thinking of when I went to this, because it is the same type of heel. However, I think that the instructions for this weren't necessarily for magic loop specifically, because where it was talking about like putting in, stitch markers and things like that it sort of didn't make sense to me because of what I had in my head from the other patterns. So when I did my second sock and got to the heel, kind of knowing that first pattern that I did, kind of the way of doing that heel, even though they're the same heel, those instructions had made more sense to me. When I got to the heel, I was sort of more as far as how I divided up my my stitches and all that. Once I got back to doing the gusset and those decreases and everything, I sort of in my head went back to the other pattern, and that it went easier on the second sock than it did on the first. And knowing that, I think I would like to make another pair of these. I'm just not quite sure if I'm ready to dive in just yet. But because I finished these and I was ready to go back to mindless socks, I did start in on more of the I'm So Basic socks. But to explain what I'm doing, well, there's a few things I want to explain. I picked up some, it's the Cascade sock yarn, and it's one where, it's not an expensive yarn to begin with, and I think that when I got mine, it was on sale. And okay, I've got colors here. I think I'm not going to use the white, but I went with these bright colors here. You have like a turquoise and like a lime green and a yellow and a magenta. And my goal with doing this is that I'm going to use a color for the cuff, a color for the body, a color for the heel, and a color for the toe. And then I'm going to make 4 socks, and they will all, the way the colors are arranged will all be different, but it's all using the same colors, so you can just mix and match any 2 of the 4 together. So that's what my next project is here. So I started, and for these, even though I used size 1 needles on the Rook Socks I just finished, I did go back to size 2 for these, because I was concerned about whether I was knitting too tightly, and these are the same needles I had used on the previous ones of these that I had made. So we'll see. So I just started yesterday. And I've noticed that as I've been doing more socks, my knitting has definitely improved on these. When I started these, I didn't have to restart them multiple times because of casting on and messing things up and all that. So I've got my cuff done and starting in on the body. So that was from, as of when I'm filming this, yesterday evening, and then a bit this morning I did a bit more. So not having to pay attention to anything and just being able to move your hands and knit can be very helpful, and just keeping your hands busy while just watching something, like watching a video or whatever, is nice. So that is my working on sock 1 of my 4 sock set. So that is here. And now I want to explain some other things I have picked up recently as I've done more knitting. So So let me bring over a few things here. One of the things that I had seen sort of at the Flock Fiber Festival, but hadn't really looked at, was there were items from a company called Lemonwood, and they make a number of things, but one of the things they make is yarn minders. And so this is, I have my yarn on this yarn minder here, where, let me take this off. You've got this, which is wooden. It breaks down so it can be stored flat. There's a bunch of different patterns that they have, but you put this through that, and what they also have available is if you have a skein that's bigger, and again, these come in a number of different patterns, but they're just a taller version of this stick so that you can have a bigger skein on this. But what this is for is, and I got a number of the accessories that go with it as well, but you've got this here. You've got this ring, and then this, you've got a wrist strap, so like if you're going to be out somewhere and whichever wrist you want to put it on, you can have your yarn there, and this will spin so that you've got your yarn available to just kind of keep knitting. But there are accessories as well, one being with a carabiner so that you can just hook it to something if you don't want to have it on your wrist, or a little thing so you can put it on the edge of a table and hook it on there and have it suspended, and so the yarn can just spin. Or what I got, which I think they call this because this is their yarn minder, and I think this is called their minder. And what you do with that is you hook, let me get this in here, you hook that onto there, and then this can just spin. And then they have a couple different designs for this, and I picked this one that kind of has this honeycomb pattern on it and is colorful, and they have a few other ones as well. I had been wanting something like this for a long time, but I just hadn't done it. And when I hadn't been crocheting or knitting that much, so I'm like, well, it doesn't make sense for me to be spending money on something like that if I'm not going to actively use it. But as I was starting to do more with knit and crochet, and I was able to do this, and I think it's a when you get the minder and the minder together as a bundle, it's a little cheaper. And then because I was placing my first order, I think there was some additional discount, and that's why I added on the other accessories. And I've been happy with this. I will say that there is another they have another option, which I don't remember what it's called, maybe the whoosh or something, where instead of this has, a pretty big footprint, and it takes up, a considerable amount of space when you're sitting and working on it. The other one, which I've seen they have for pre-order, but because I went ahead and got this one, I haven't seen the need to get one of those at this time, is something where you use this, but then there's a base, like a swivel base, and this slots in on top, and then it just kind of turns, sort of like some of the more typical like wood yarn minders that you'll see that are just the Lazy Susan type base with the middle post sticking up that you put the yarn cake on. And so I'm not sure how that compares because I haven't tried that, but I liked, even though this takes up more space, I liked how this looked, and I decided to give this system a try because I like the option of both being able to use it in a stationary manner, which is how I have, done most of my use of this, or be able to take it on the go with the wrist strap, or clip it to something so that you can use it in, or hang it off the table, so you can use it in a variety of situations. And I've been happy with how this, is working so far. They have, for the minders, they have a number of different designs, and, particularly with this sock project that I'm working on, I think it would be handy to have multiple minders. I don't need, well, one, you don't need it at all. That's clear. You don't need it. I find it helpful, but it's definitely not necessary. But I think eventually I would like to get some additional of the minders so I can have multiple, multiple different yarns on those ready to go. But just not ready to do that splurge just yet. Let's see. Oh, maybe the other thing I will mention is I've been using those smaller bags from, what was it, the Zoe's bags. I've linked it before. I'll if you look in a previous video where I show what I've been using for my sock projects, are those smaller bags that I got earlier this year. For this sock project, since I've got multiple cakes of yarn, I do have them in a bigger bag. This bag, and here I'll show you, is from Madder Root, and it has a wax canvas bottom, and this is a Harris tweed on the outside, and then the inside is, I don't remember exactly the fiber content of the lining, but it does have a design on there, a fern design, and there is a pocket on the inside. And so for a project with multiple skeins of yarn, since I'm wanting to keep all this stuff together, this is nice. And the reason that, and then if you want to, you can, how this works is you roll it down. I think it's a trundle bag or whatever. You roll it down, and then you clip this to kind of close everything in there, so it closes without having zippers if you're concerned about your yarn getting snagged in a zipper. And again, did I need a project bag like this when I have the smaller ones, where if I'm just using one color at a time, I don't have to have all the yarn in there together at once. But part of the reason that I ended up getting this was particularly because I really liked the tweed bags that were available, and knowing that the Harris tweed is not from the US, and everything with tariffs, and not knowing how easy it was going to be for the maker of these to replenish their stock of tweed, and when stuff would or wouldn't be available, and if it sold out, would it be available again. I went ahead and placed my order because I really wanted. I liked the bags, and it's what I wanted, and I didn't want to, you know, wonder about availability in the future. So that's what I snagged. Even though, again, not a necessary thing, but I am happy that with my purchase. Other than that, I don't know that I have really anything else to go into. Nothing really to report on reading. There was, and I can't even remember the name of the book. I was listening to a video on YouTube, and there was a couple books that somebody had mentioned that they were planning on reading. They sounded interesting. They were available, the audiobooks available at my library, so I got them through Libby. I started listening to one, and I was enjoying it, but then, like I said, life got in the way, kind of threw me off of listening to it, and I maybe in an hour or so into it, and I think the book is going to be returned later today or early tomorrow. So I will probably have to at some point check it back out again. But yeah, I've gotten off the track with reading. I will get back to it eventually, but with how things are going, I imagine it's not going to be anytime soon. So when I do have more book stuff to talk about, I will add it in with my video, but we are not there quite yet. And for plans, just, keeping on and making some progress. Even if it's not a lot of progress, I will keep making progress. And it's looking like this video is going to be definitely shorter this month, and about, once it's edited, it's going to be a half hour-ish. And when this is going up, we won't be it'll be going up the last Sunday of the month, which will be before Halloween, because Halloween will be the Friday after this video is posted. So whatever you do for Halloween, I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in November. And I'll have to look at where the holidays fall in November and figure out exactly when my November video will be posted. But I will see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye.